Maya Bennett lifted her sleeve 30 seconds into the blind date, revealing the twisted landscape of burn scars that covered her right arm from wrist to shoulder. The coffee shop seemed to hold its breath. "I need you to know something," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "No one wants to date me. Every man who sat in that chair has found a reason to leave within 5 minutes. So if you're going to go, just go now. Save us both the awkward small talk." Across the table, Ethan Cole didn't move. He didn't look away. And in that moment, everything changed. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far this story travels. And stick around until the end, because what happens next will remind you that the deepest scars sometimes lead to the most beautiful healing. The coffee shop on Morrison Street had seen 1,000 first dates, but none quite like this one. Ethan Cole sat in the corner booth, his calloused hands wrapped around a mug of black coffee he hadn't touched. His sister Rachel had set this up. Ambushed him, really, with the kind of well-meaning interference that came from watching him spend 3 years in a fog of grief and loneliness. "Just one date," she'd said. "Maya's nice, she's a pediatric nurse. You have things in common." What she hadn't mentioned was that Ethan would spend the 15 minutes before Maya arrived fighting the urge to bolt. He checked his watch, 6:30. She was late, which gave him the perfect excuse to... "Ethan?" He looked up. The woman standing beside the table was petite, maybe 5'4", with dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, and eyes that held a peculiar mixture of wariness and resignation. She wore a long-sleeved cardigan despite the warmth of the early evening, her arms crossed protectively over her chest. "Maya." He started to stand, but she waved him back down. "Don't," she said. Let's skip the formalities." She slid into the seat across from him, setting her purse on the table with a deliberate thud. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Ethan found himself studying her face, delicate features, pale skin, a slight tension around her mouth that suggested she smiled rarely, and meant it even less often. "Your sister is very persistent," Maya said finally. "She's something." Ethan managed a weak smile. "I'm sorry if she ambushed me too." She did. Maya's fingers drummed against the table. "Showed up at the hospital with coffee and a compelling argument about how two broken people might as well be broken together. That sounds like Rachel. Is it true?" Maya's gaze fixed on him, direct and unflinching. "Are you broken?" The question caught him off guard. Most first dates involved careful small talk, gentle probing, the slow dance of getting to know someone without revealing too much too soon. This felt more like an interrogation. "My wife died 3 years ago," Ethan said. "House fire. So yeah, I guess broken is one word for it." He expected sympathy, the usual widening of eyes and softening of expression that came whenever he mentioned Sarah. Instead, Maya just nodded, as if he'd confirmed something she already suspected. "Rachel said you have a daughter." "Lily, she's 6. Is she here? In Seattle?" "With Rachel tonight." Ethan shifted in his seat. "Look, I should probably tell you up front. I'm not great at this. Dating, it's been a long time." "Neither have I," Maya said. "Been great at it, or done it in a long time." Another silence stretched between them. Ethan picked up his coffee, more for something to do with his hands than any real desire to drink it. Across the table, Maya seemed to be engaged in some kind of internal debate, her jaw working, her fingers now gripping the edge of the table. "Okay," she said abruptly. "I'm going to do something. And then you're going to leave, and we can both tell Rachel we tried, and she can stop meddling in our lives." Before Ethan could respond, Maya reached for the sleeve of her cardigan. She pushed it up slowly, deliberately, revealing skin that made his breath catch. The scars started at her wrist, thick, ropey tissue in shades of pink and white and red. They climbed her forearm like twisted vines, the skin puckered and grafted, a landscape of trauma written in flesh. As she pushed the sleeve higher, the scars widened, covering more territory, transforming what had once been smooth skin into something that looked like melted wax. "This goes all the way up," Maya said, her voice steady despite the vulnerability of the gesture. "My shoulder, part of my chest, my back. 30% of my body, third-degree burns, 17 surgeries, 2 years of physical therapy." She laid her arm on the table between them, a challenge and a confession. I need you to know something, she continued. No one wants to date me. Every man who's sat in that chair has found a reason to leave within 5 minutes. Usually they're polite about it. Sudden emergency, forgot they had plans, need to check on their sick grandmother. But they leave. So if you're going to go, just go now. Save us both the awkward small talk. Ethan stared at the scars, not in horror, but in recognition. How old were you? He asked quietly. Maya blinked. What? When you got burned. How old? 17. Her voice had lost some of its defensive edge. House fire. My parents didn't make it out. Ethan set down his coffee. He reached into his wallet, pulling out a small photograph that he carried everywhere. Not of Sarah, though he had those too, but of Lily. He slid it across the table. In the picture, Lily sat on a swing, her face turned partially away from the camera. Even in profile, the scars were visible, a patch of textured skin running from her right ear down her neck, disappearing beneath her collar. She was 3, Ethan said. Same fire that killed her mother. Sarah went back in to get her, threw her out the window to me. By the time the firefighters got Sarah out, he swallowed hard. Lily's scars are why I'm here. Maya picked up the photograph with careful fingers, her scarred hand trembling slightly. I don't understand. She thinks she's a monster. The words came out rougher than Ethan intended. That's what she said last week, 6 years old, and she already believes she's too ugly for anyone to love. She won't look in mirrors, won't let other kids see the right side of her face. Rachel thought, she thought maybe if I could show Lily that scars don't have to mean the end of everything, that people can still have normal lives, still find someone who... He trailed off, suddenly aware of how that sounded. I'm not a teaching moment, Maya said sharply. I know. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. Ethan rubbed his face. Rachel didn't tell me about your scars. She just said you were kind, that you'd understand about Lily. Rachel doesn't know about my scars, Maya said. I'm very good at hiding them. Then why did you show me? Maya pulled her sleeve back down, the cardigan once again concealing the evidence of her past. Because I'm tired of getting halfway through these dates before it happens. Tired of hoping this time will be different, that maybe this person will see past it. Better to just control the narrative, I guess. Show them up front so I don't have to sit here wondering when they're going to find out and how they're going to react. I'm not going anywhere, Ethan said. Yes, you are. Maya's smile was sad and knowing. You're going to think about it for a few minutes, try to be nice about it, and then you're going to realize you don't want your daughter around someone who looks like this. You'll worry about what it might do to her, seeing these scars every day, whether it might make things worse. That's not... It's okay. Maya started to gather her purse. Really, I get it. Your daughter has been through enough. You don't need to add my damage to hers. Stop. The word came out harder than Ethan meant it to, sharp enough that Maya froze halfway out of her seat. Around them, other patrons glanced over briefly before returning to their own conversations. I'm not leaving, Ethan said more quietly. And I'm not worried about what your scars might do to Lily. I'm worried about what they've already done to you. Maya slowly sank back into her seat. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've built your whole life around the assumption that no one will ever want you, that these scars define your worth as a person. Ethan leaned forward. My daughter is doing the exact same thing, and I don't know how to fix it for her because I don't know how to convince her she's wrong. But maybe you do. I don't have answers, Maya said. I can barely manage my own life. Tell me about the fire. Why? Because you survived it, Ethan said, and I need to understand how. Maya studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then slowly, she began to speak. It was January. I was 17, home from school with the flu. My parents had gone to bed early. My dad worked construction, had to be up at 5. I was in my room, half asleep, when I smelled smoke. Her voice took on a distant quality, as if she were reciting facts about someone else's life. The fire started in the garage. Electrical problem, they said later. By the time I realized what was happening, the hallway was already engulfed. I tried to get to my parents' room, but the smoke was so thick I couldn't see, couldn't breathe. I made it to their door, but it was so hot. When I touched the handle, it burned through my palm. She flexed her scarred hand unconsciously. I knew they were dead. I could feel it, but I kept trying to open that door anyway, kept burning myself. It wasn't until part of the ceiling collapsed that I finally ran, went through my bedroom window, second story, broke my leg in 3 places when I landed. Jesus, Ethan breathed. I spent the next 2 years in and out of hospitals, 17 surgeries. They had to take skin from my thighs, my back, anywhere they could harvest it, to graft onto my arm and shoulder. Every surgery meant weeks of recovery, months of physical therapy. The pain was... She shook her head. I don't have words for it. How did you get through it? I didn't want to. Maya's admission was stark. For the first year, I didn't want to survive. I was in constant pain. I'd lost everyone who mattered, and every time I looked at myself, all I saw was this ruined thing that used to be a person. The only reason I kept going was spite, honestly. I was too angry at the universe to give it the satisfaction of killing me, too. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Then one day, about 18 months in, I was in physical therapy. There was this little boy, maybe 5 years old, burned even worse than me. He was crying because he couldn't bend his fingers, and his mom was crying because she didn't know how to help him. And I got up and I showed him my hand. Told him that a year ago, I couldn't make a fist either, that it hurt like hell, but it did get better. And he stopped crying. That's when you decided to become a nurse. That's when I decided I didn't want to die anymore, Maya corrected. Becoming a nurse took a few more years. But yeah, that kid, his name was Marcus, I still remember. He gave me a reason. If I could help other people survive their worst days, maybe my own worst day would mean something. Ethan found himself leaning forward, drawn in by the quiet intensity of her story. Do you still think about them? Your parents? Every single day. Maya's eyes glistened. I live in their house, actually, or what's left of it. After the fire, it sat vacant for years. The insurance money sat in a trust until I turned 21. I used it to rebuild, gutted everything, started over. My therapist thought it was a terrible idea, said I was torturing myself. But you did it anyway. I couldn't let it stay ruined. That house was my whole childhood. Every good memory I have happened in those rooms. If I let the fire win, let it stay destroyed, then... She struggled for words. Then they really would be gone. But if I could rebuild it, make it beautiful again, maybe some part of them could survive too. Did it work? Maya considered the question. Yes and no. The house is beautiful. I did a good job with it, but it's also lonely as hell, and every room reminds me of what I lost. So maybe my therapist was right. The waitress appeared, interrupting the moment. Can I get you folks anything? We have a special on... Just coffee, Maya said. Black. Same, Ethan added. As the waitress departed, silence settled over them again. But this time it felt different, less awkward, more contemplative. Ethan studied Maya's face, seeing past the defensive armor to the person underneath. Someone who had survived the unsurvivable and spent the years since trying to make sense of it. Can I ask you something? Maya said. About your wife. Yeah. Do you blame yourself? The question hit like a physical blow. Ethan's throat tightened. Every day. Even though it wasn't your fault? Doesn't matter whose fault it was. I was outside. She went back in. If I'd been faster, if I'd realized Lily was still inside sooner, if I'd gone in myself instead of letting Sarah... He stopped, overwhelmed. Yeah, I blame myself. Maya nodded slowly. I blame myself for my parents. Told myself I should have woken up sooner, should have smelled the smoke earlier, should have saved them. Spent years carrying that guilt around like it was something I deserved to carry. When did you stop? I haven't, Maya admitted. But I've gotten better at living with it. There's a difference between accepting that something terrible happened and accepting that you're terrible because of it. I'm still working on that second part. The coffee arrived. They both doctored it in silence, Ethan adding cream, Maya drinking hers black as promised. Outside the window, Seattle's evening light was fading, the city beginning to glow with street lamps and neon signs. Your daughter, Maya said abruptly. Lily, what's she like? Ethan's entire demeanor shifted. His face softened, a genuine smile breaking through the grief and tension. She's stubborn. Scary smart, loves dinosaurs and hates dresses. She has her mother's eyes and my terrible sense of humor. Does she remember Sarah? Bits and pieces, mostly feelings, being held, being loved. Sometimes she'll say something that's pure Sarah, and it's like having her back for just a second. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos. This is from last week. We went to the aquarium. He turned the screen toward Maya. The picture showed Lily pressed against a massive glass tank, her scarred cheek visible but forgotten as she stared in wonder at a giant octopus. Her expression was pure joy, uninhibited and real. She's beautiful, Maya said softly. She doesn't believe that. Won't let me take pictures of her right side. This one I had to sneak. Ethan pocketed the phone. Kids at school have been not great. There's this one girl, Madison, who told everyone Lily looks like a zombie. Now half the first graders won't sit next to her at lunch. That's horrible. It's kids being kids, I guess. Doesn't make it hurt less. He wrapped his hands around his coffee mug. I've tried everything. Talked to her teachers, talked to the other parents, even tried getting her into therapy. But she just shuts down. Stopped trying to make friends. Sits alone at recess. Last week I caught her in the bathroom with safety scissors, trying to cut her hair long enough to hide the scars. Maya's expression darkened. How old did you say she was? 6. Just turned 6 last month. That's too young to hate herself like that. I know. Ethan's voice cracked. I watch her shrink a little more every day, and I don't know how to stop it, how to convince her that she's more than what happened to her. Rachel thought maybe if she could meet someone who... He trailed off, but Maya finished the thought. Someone who has scars and isn't completely broken. Yeah. Maya laughed bitterly. I hate to break it to you, but I'm completely broken. I'm 32 years old and I haven't had a relationship last longer than 3 months. I work 60-hour weeks because going home to an empty house feels like punishment. I have exactly 2 friends, and they are both people I met in burn survivor support groups. I am not someone who should be giving life advice to a 6-year-old. But you survived, Ethan said. You rebuilt your house. You became a nurse. You help people every day. That's not broken. That's incredibly strong. It's incredibly stubborn, Maya corrected. There's a difference. Is there? She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again. Her fingers traced the rim of her coffee cup, a nervous gesture that seemed unconscious. What exactly are you asking me to do here, Ethan? I don't know, he admitted. When Rachel said she knew someone who might understand what Lily's going through, I jumped at it. Maybe that was selfish. Maybe I'm asking too much. But sitting here, listening to you, I think maybe you could help her in a way I can't. Because you've been where she is. You know what it feels like to look in the mirror and see damage instead of a person. And you think what? That I'll swoop in and magically fix her self-esteem? No, I think maybe you could show her that life doesn't end because of scars, that it's possible to survive and build something meaningful afterward. Maya stared at him. You're serious. I'm desperate, Ethan said. My daughter thinks she's unlovable. She's 6 years old and she's already given up on herself. If there's even a chance that meeting you, seeing that someone else has survived this and built a life, might help her. Yeah, I'm serious. I don't know how to talk to children. You're a pediatric nurse. That's different. That's medical care. This is, Maya gestured helplessly. This is asking me to be some kind of role model, to pretend I have my life together when I manifestly don't. I'm not asking you to pretend anything, Ethan said gently. I'm just asking you to be honest with her, to show her that survival is possible. That's all. For a long moment, Maya said nothing. She stared down at her scarred hand, flexing her fingers slowly. When she finally looked up, her eyes were wet. I'll think about it, she said. That's all I can promise. I'll think about it. That's more than I expected. They sat in silence for a while, nursing their coffee. Around them, the coffee shop bustled with its usual evening crowd. Students hunched over laptops, couples on dates, friends catching up. Normal people living normal lives, unaware of the extraordinary conversation happening in the corner booth. Can I ask you something? Maya said eventually. Sure. Why didn't you leave? When I showed you the scars, Ethan thought about it. Honestly, Because you expected me to. And I'm tired of being the person people expect me to be. The grieving widower, the overwhelmed single dad, the guy who's barely holding it together. For once, I wanted to surprise someone. Maybe surprise myself. Did it work? I'm still here, aren't I? Maya's laugh was small but genuine. Yeah, you are. Besides, Ethan added, those scars don't scare me. You know what scares me? The idea that my daughter might go through her whole life thinking she's not worthy of love because of something that happened to her when she was 3. That she might become so convinced of her own ugliness that she builds her entire identity around it. That scares the hell out of me. She won't, Maya said quietly. How do you know? Because she has you. Because you're here, fighting for her, looking for ways to help her. My parents died in that fire. There was no one to fight for me afterward. Just foster care and social workers who meant well but didn't have time. Your daughter has someone who loves her enough to have awkward coffee dates with burned strangers just on the chance it might help. She's already luckier than I was. Ethan felt something loosen in his chest. Thank you for saying that. I mean it. Maya finished her coffee. Look, I should go. I have an early shift tomorrow, and this has been intense. Yeah, it has. Ethan signaled for the check. Would it be okay if I gave you my number, in case you decide you want to meet Lily, or even if you just want to talk? Maya hesitated, then pulled out her phone. Okay, but I'm not promising anything. I know. They exchanged numbers in awkward silence. When the check came, they both reached for it, then laughed nervously and agreed to split it. Outside the coffee shop, they stood on the sidewalk, neither quite ready to leave but unsure what else to say. This was the weirdest first date I've ever been on, Maya said finally. Same. But also, maybe the most honest? Yeah. She pulled her cardigan tighter despite the warm evening air. I'll text you. I don't know when, but I will. I'll wait. Maya started to walk away, then turned back. Ethan, for what it's worth, I think Lily is lucky to have you, even if she can't see it yet. Before he could respond, she was gone, disappearing into the evening crowd. Ethan stood there for a moment, watching her leave, feeling something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. His phone buzzed. Rachel. How did it go? Did you completely humiliate me? Do I need to apologize to Maya? Ethan smiled and typed back. It went better than expected. Thanks for meddling. I knew it. Details. Now. Later. I need to get Lily. He pocketed his phone and headed for his truck, his mind already spinning ahead. He didn't know if Maya would actually reach out. Didn't know if meeting her would help Lily or just confuse her more. But for the first time in months, he felt like he'd taken a step in the right direction. Maybe that was enough. At Rachel's house, he found Lily curled up on the couch, watching a nature documentary about jellyfish. She didn't look up when he entered, her attention fixed on the screen, her scarred cheek pressed against a pillow. Hey, Bug, he said softly. Hi, Daddy. Ready to go home? Can we watch the rest first? They're about to show the really big ones. Ethan sat down beside her, and she immediately curled into his side. He wrapped an arm around her, feeling the familiar ache that came with loving someone so much it physically hurt. Lily? How would you feel about meeting someone? Someone who has scars like yours? Lily went very still. Why? Because I think maybe it would help, to know you're not the only one. Is it a kid? No. A grown-up, a nurse. She's really nice. Lily was quiet for a long moment. On the screen, a massive jellyfish pulsed through dark water, beautiful and alien. Do her scars make people scared? The question broke his heart. I don't think so, Bug. I think they just make her careful about who she lets close. Like me? Yeah, like you. Lily considered this. Okay, I'll meet her, but only if she wants to meet me. I think she does, Ethan said, hoping desperately that it was true. I really think she does. They sat together in silence, watching jellyfish dance across the screen, both of them carrying scars that couldn't be seen and hoping for a future where those scars might finally start to heal. 3 days passed before Maya texted. Ethan had almost given up hope when his phone buzzed during his lunch break on the construction site. He was sitting on a stack of lumber, eating a sandwich that tasted like sawdust, when the message appeared. I'm not good at this. But if Lily wants to meet me, I'll try. Coffee shop again? Neutral territory. He read it 3 times, relief washing through him. Around him, the sounds of construction continued, hammers pounding, saws whining, men shouting instructions. But all of it faded into background noise as he typed back. Thank you. How about Saturday, 2 p.m.? The reply came quickly. Okay. But Ethan, don't expect miracles. I'm still figuring out my own life. I'm not expecting miracles, just honesty. That I can do. That night, Ethan sat Lily down after dinner. She'd barely touched her mac and cheese, pushing it around her plate, while half watching a cartoon. He turned off the TV and sat beside her at the kitchen table. Bug, I need to talk to you about something. Lily's hand immediately went to her neck, covering her scars. It was an unconscious gesture, one she'd developed over the past year. Whenever she felt anxious or exposed, her palm went to her skin, hiding what she believed needed hiding. Am I in trouble? She asked quietly. No, baby. Nothing like that. He pulled his chair closer. Remember I told you about someone I met, the nurse with scars? Lily nodded, her eyes wary. Her name is Maya, and she said she'd like to meet you, on Saturday, at the coffee shop downtown, the one with the good hot chocolate. Why does she want to meet me? Ethan chose his words carefully. Because she knows what it's like to be different. To feel like people stare, and I think maybe talking to her might help you understand that you're not alone. Will she think I'm ugly? The question stabbed through him. Oh, Lily, no, she won't think that at all. Madison says I look like a monster. Madison is 6 years old and doesn't know anything about monsters. Ethan tilted Lily's chin up gently. You are beautiful, every single part of you. Lily pulled away. You have to say that. You're my dad. I say it because it's true. But he could see it in her eyes. She didn't believe him. And why would she? He was her father. Of course he'd tell her she was beautiful. What else could he say? Will you come with me? Lily asked. To meet her? If you want me to, or I can wait outside. Whatever makes you comfortable. Lily thought about it, her small face serious. I want you there. But maybe you could sit at a different table? So I can talk to her alone? Pride and heartbreak warred in Ethan's chest. His 6-year-old daughter, already understanding the concept of privacy, of conversations that needed to happen without parents hovering. I can do that. Okay. Lily climbed down from her chair. Can I go play now? Yeah, Bug. Go ahead. He watched her disappear into her room, heard the sound of dinosaur toys being arranged in elaborate scenarios. She'd been obsessed with paleontology lately, memorizing facts about creatures that had been dead for millions of years. Sometimes Ethan wondered if she found comfort in things that were already gone, already beyond the reach of judgment. Saturday arrived with unexpected sunshine. Seattle in late spring could go either way, but the morning dawned clear and bright. Ethan dressed Lily in her favorite purple shirt, the one with long sleeves she could pull down over her hands when she felt self-conscious. She insisted on wearing her hair loose, letting it fall across the right side of her face. You look great, Ethan said. Lily studied herself in the mirror, then turned away quickly. Let's just go. The coffee shop was moderately crowded when they arrived. Ethan spotted Maya immediately. She sat in the same corner booth where they'd had their first conversation, her hands wrapped around a mug, her cardigan buttoned up despite the warmth. When she saw them, something flickered across her face. Nervousness, maybe. Or recognition. Ethan guided Lily over. Maya, this is Lily. Lily, this is Ms. Bennett. Just Maya, Maya said quickly. She looked at Lily, and Lily looked back, both of them studying each other with careful attention. Lily's hand crept up to her neck. Maya's shifted to her sleeve. Hi, Lily said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Hi, Maya replied. She gestured to the seat across from her. Want to sit? Lily glanced at Ethan. He gave her an encouraging nod and moved to a table 2 booths away, close enough to intervene if needed, far enough to give them space. He ordered a coffee he didn't want and pretended to look at his phone while every nerve in his body focused on the conversation happening behind him. For a long moment, neither Maya nor Lily spoke. The little girl sat with perfect posture, her hands folded in her lap, her hair falling like a curtain across half her face. Maya mirrored her stillness, waiting. "My dad says you're a nurse," Lily said eventually. "I am. I work with kids who are sick or hurt." "Do you fix them?" "Sometimes. Sometimes I just help them feel better while they heal themselves." Lily processed this. "Can you see my scars?" The directness of the question seemed to catch Maya off guard. "A little. Your hair is covering most of them." "That's on purpose. I figured." "Do you want to see them?" Lily's voice carried a challenge, the same defiant tone Maya had used when revealing her own scars to Ethan. "Only if you want to show me." Slowly, deliberately, Lily swept her hair back. The scars ran from her right ear down her neck in a mottled pattern of pink and white tissue. The skin was textured, uneven, a permanent reminder of the worst night of her life. Maya looked. She didn't flinch, didn't soften her expression into pity. She just looked, giving Lily's scars the same matter-of-fact attention she might give any other part of her. "Those must have hurt," Maya said finally. "I don't remember. I was only 3. "That doesn't mean they didn't hurt." Lily let her hair fall back into place. "Your turn." Maya hesitated, then unbuttoned her cardigan. Underneath, she wore a short-sleeved shirt, exposing the full extent of her arm scars. She laid her arm on the table between them, just as she'd done with Ethan. Lily leaned forward, studying the damaged skin with scientific interest. "Can I touch it?" "If you want." Lily reached out tentatively, her small fingers tracing the ridge of a particularly thick scar. "Does it hurt now?" "No, it did for a long time, but not anymore." "Mine doesn't hurt either, except sometimes when it's cold." Lily continued her exploration, her curiosity overcoming her usual shyness. "How many surgeries did you have?" 17. "I only had 4, but I don't remember them. Dad says I was brave, but I don't remember being brave." "Being brave doesn't mean you weren't scared," Maya said. "It just means you got through it anyway." Lily pulled her hand back. "Kids at school say I look like a zombie." "Kids at my school said I looked like Freddy Krueger. Do you know who that is?" "No." "He's a monster from a scary movie, really ugly with scars all over his face." Maya's voice was matter-of-fact. "They called me that for years. Some of them still probably would if they saw me." "Did it make you sad?" "Furious, actually. I wanted to punch every single person who said it." "Did you?" "No, but I thought about it a lot." Maya leaned back. "Want to know what I learned, though?" "What?" "The kids who said that stuff, they weren't scared of how I looked. They were scared of their own fear, of not knowing what to say or do around someone who was different, so they turned me into a monster because monsters are easier to deal with than actual people." Lily frowned. "I don't understand." "If I'm a monster, they don't have to feel bad about being mean to me. Monsters aren't real people with real feelings. But if they admitted I was just a regular person who got hurt, they'd have to feel guilty about how they treated me. And guilt is uncomfortable." "So they made you into something that wasn't real?" "Exactly." Lily sat with this for a moment. "That's stupid." "Yeah," Maya agreed. "It really is." The waitress appeared, breaking the moment. "Can I get you anything, sweetie?" Lily looked to Maya, who nodded encouragingly. "Can I have hot chocolate?" "With whipped cream?" "Yes, please." As the waitress left, Lily turned back to Maya. "Do you have a family?" The question landed like a blow. Maya's expression shuddered, pain flickering across her features before she could hide it. "No, my parents died in the same fire that burned me." "My mom died in my fire too." "I know. Your dad told me." "Do you miss your parents?" "Every day." "Me too, but I don't remember her very well. Just little things. The way she smelled, how she sang me songs at bedtime." Lily's voice went small. "Sometimes I'm scared I'll forget her completely." Maya reached across the table, stopping just short of touching Lily's hand. "You won't. The important things, how she made you feel, how much she loved you, those don't go away. They're part of who you are." "How do you know?" Because I still carry my parents with me, in the house I rebuilt, in the work I do, in the way I try to live my life. They're gone, but they're not erased. Does that make sense? Lily nodded slowly. The hot chocolate arrived, topped with a mountain of whipped cream. She took a sip, leaving a mustache of white foam on her upper lip. Maya smiled, and Lily smiled back, and for a moment they were just two people sharing hot chocolate on a Saturday afternoon. "Can I ask you something else?" Lily said. "Sure." "Do you think I'm ugly?" The question hung in the air between them. At his table, Ethan tensed, his hands gripping his coffee mug so hard his knuckles went white. Maya leaned forward, her eyes serious. "No, I think you're a 6-year-old girl who survived something terrible and carries the proof of it on her skin. That's not ugly. That's evidence of strength. But the scars are just scars. They're part of your story, but they're not the whole story. You're also smart and curious and brave enough to meet a stranger just because your dad thought it might help. That's who you are, not the scars." "You don't believe that about yourself," Lily said with startling perception. Maya blinked. "What?" "You're wearing long sleeves even though it's warm, and you sit in the corner where people can't see you. You hide just like me." Out of the mouths of babes, Maya felt something crack inside her chest, the careful armor she'd built over 15 years, suddenly feeling paper-thin under a 6-year-old's observation. "You're right," she admitted. "I do hide. I've been hiding for a long time." "Why?" "Because it's easier than letting people see me and having to watch them decide I'm not worth knowing." "But my dad thinks you're worth knowing." "Your dad is a good person who sees the best in people." "My dad is sad a lot," Lily said. "He tries to hide it, but I can tell. He misses my mom and he worries about me. I hear him sometimes at night crying in his room." Maya glanced over at Ethan, who was studiously avoiding looking their direction. "He loves you very much." "I know, but I think he wishes I wasn't so—" Lily struggled for the word. "Broken." "You're not broken." "Yes, I am. I can't even look in mirrors without feeling sick. I can't make friends because everyone thinks I'm weird. I can't be normal." Maya felt the weight of those words, the echo of her own thoughts spoken in a child's voice. She'd spent 15 years telling herself the same things, building a life around the assumption that she was too damaged for normalness, for connection, for love. "Listen to me," Maya said, her voice fierce. "Normal is overrated. Normal is boring. You know what you are? You're a survivor. You went through something that would have destroyed a lot of people, and you're still here, still fighting. That's not broken. That's incredible." "It doesn't feel incredible. It feels lonely." The simple honesty of it nearly undid Maya. She blinked back tears, aware that Lily was watching her carefully, reading her reactions. "Yeah," Maya said quietly. "It does feel lonely. I won't lie to you about that. Being different, carrying these scars, it separates you from other people, makes you feel like you're on the outside looking in." "Does it get better?" Maya wanted to lie, to offer easy comfort, but Lily deserved truth. "Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Some days are easier than others. Some days you'll feel strong and beautiful and proud of what you've survived. Other days you'll want to hide from the world and never come out. But here's what I've learned. The lonely days don't last forever. And eventually, you find people who see past the scars to who you really are. It just takes longer than you'd like." "Have you found those people?" "A few. Not enough, but a few." Maya managed a smile. "And maybe I'm finding another one right now." Lily considered this, taking another sip of hot chocolate. "Do you think we could be friends?" The question caught Maya completely off guard. In all her anxious preparation for this meeting, she'd imagined many scenarios, Lily being frightened, disgusted, uncomfortable. She hadn't imagined this simple, direct request for connection. "I'd like that," Maya said, her voice rough. "If you want to." "I do. I don't have very many friends. Just my dad and Aunt Rachel. It would be nice to have someone else." "Same here." They smiled at each other, tentative but real. Across the room, Ethan felt something loosen in his chest, the constant knot of worry unwinding just slightly. "Can I tell you a secret?" Lily asked. "Of course." "Sometimes I think about cutting my scars off. with scissors or a knife, just getting rid of them so I can be normal again. Maya's blood ran cold. She glanced quickly at Ethan, wondering if he knew, but his attention was still on his phone. She turned back to Lily, keeping her voice calm despite the alarm bells ringing in her head. Have you tried to do that? No, but I think about it a lot. Oh, Lily, listen to me very carefully. Cutting your scars won't make them go away. It will just hurt you and create new scars on top of the old ones. Promise me you won't do that. But if they were gone, they wouldn't be. And even if they were, it wouldn't change how you feel inside. I know it seems like the scars are the problem, but they're not. The problem is how other people react to them and how that makes you feel about yourself. Cutting your skin won't fix that. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Then what will? Time. And finding people who see you for who you really are. And learning to believe them when they tell you you're wonderful. Maya reached across the table, and this time she did touch Lily's hand. And maybe talking to someone about these thoughts. A therapist who can help you work through them. I don't want to talk to a stranger. Then talk to me. Or your dad. But talk to someone. Because keeping thoughts like that inside makes them grow bigger and scarier. They need to come out into the light where you can see they're not as powerful as they feel. Lily wiped her eyes with her sleeve. You won't tell my dad, will you? Maya hesitated. Every instinct as a medical professional screamed that Ethan needed to know, but she also understood the fragile trust Lily had just extended, the vulnerability of sharing thoughts she'd kept hidden. I think your dad should know, Maya said carefully. Not because you're in trouble, but because he loves you and he can help. But if you want, we can tell him together, right now. I'll be here with you. He'll be so sad. He'll be grateful you told him. Trust me. Lily looked over at her father, who was still pretending not to watch them. Then she nodded, a small, scared gesture. Okay. Maya caught Ethan's eye and gestured him over. He was at their table in seconds, his face tight with concern. Everything okay? Sit down, Maya said. Lily has something she needs to tell you. Ethan slid into the booth next to his daughter, his arm automatically going around her shoulders. What's wrong, Bug? Lily pressed into his side, her voice muffled. I sometimes think about cutting my scars off. Ethan went very still. Maya watched the color drain from his face, watched him struggle to keep his expression neutral and supportive instead of horrified. Have you tried to hurt yourself? He asked carefully. No, I just think about it. How often? A lot, like every day. Ethan closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, they were bright with unshed tears. Lily, baby, why didn't you tell me? Because you're already sad all the time. I didn't want to make it worse. You could never make things worse. Never. He pulled her closer. Thank you for telling me now. That took a lot of courage. Maya said I should talk to someone. A therapist. Maya's right. Ethan looked at her over Lily's head, gratitude and fear warring in his expression. We'll find someone good, someone who understands. Will they think I'm crazy? No, Bug. They'll think you're a smart kid dealing with really hard feelings, and they'll help you find better ways to handle those feelings than hurting yourself. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, can Maya come with us? To the therapist? Both adults looked at each other, surprised. I don't know if that's how therapy works, Ethan said gently. Usually it's just you and the therapist. But what if I need her there? What if I can't talk about it without her? Maya's heart clenched. Lily, I'm not a therapist. I can't. You understand. You said you thought about hurting yourself too after your fire. You said the only reason you didn't was because you were too angry. Lily turned to look at her. How did you get through it? Maya looked helplessly at Ethan, who gave a slight nod. Your call. I found things to fight for, Maya said slowly. First it was spite, like I said. Then it was helping other kids who were going through what I went through. Eventually it became about building a life that would make my parents proud, even though they couldn't see it. What if I don't have anything to fight for? You do. You just can't see it yet. Maya squeezed Lily's hand. But I promise you, it's there. And a good therapist will help you find it. Will you still be my friend? Even if I have to see a therapist? Especially if you see a therapist. That means you're taking care of yourself, and I think that's incredibly brave. Lily seemed to relax slightly. She leaned back against her father, exhausted by the emotional weight of the conversation. Ethan stroked her hair, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. "Thank you," he mouthed. Maya nodded, her throat too tight for words. They sat together for a while longer, the three of them occupying the corner booth while the coffee shop hummed with life around them. Lily finished her hot chocolate. Ethan ordered her a cookie she didn't eat. Maya found herself reluctant to leave despite the emotional intensity of the past hour. "Can we do this again?" Lily asked as they prepared to go. "Come here and talk?" "If your dad says it's okay," Maya said. "Please, Dad?" Ethan looked at Maya, a question in his eyes. She found herself nodding before she could overthink it. "Yeah," she said. "We can do this again." Outside, the afternoon sun was warm on their faces. Ethan walked them to his truck, Lily holding both their hands, swinging between them like any normal kid on any normal Saturday. "I'll call you," Ethan said to Maya, "about the therapist and everything else." "Okay." He loaded Lily into her car seat, then turned back to Maya. "What you did in there, telling her the truth, not sugarcoating things, that was exactly what she needed. I didn't do anything special. You showed her she's not alone. That's everything." Maya watched them drive away, Lily's small hand waving from the back window. She stood on the sidewalk long after they disappeared, feeling the weight of what had just happened settling over her. She'd spent 15 years building walls, convincing herself that isolation was safer than connection, that hiding was easier than being seen. In one afternoon, a 6-year-old girl had walked straight through those walls without even trying. Maya pulled out her phone and scrolled to her therapist's contact. Dr. Sarah Chen had been trying to get her to engage more with the world for years. Maybe it was time to actually listen. "Are you available this week? Something's come up." The response came quickly, "Tuesday at 4. And Maya, I'm glad you're reaching out." "Me too," Maya typed back. And for the first time in a very long time, she actually meant it. The therapist's office smelled like lavender and old books. Lily sat in a chair that was too big for her, her feet dangling above the carpet, while Dr. Patricia Morrison, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair, reviewed the intake forms Ethan had filled out. "So, Lily," Dr. Morrison said, setting the paperwork aside, "your dad tells me you've been having some tough thoughts lately." Lily said nothing, her hand creeping up to cover her scars. "It's okay if you don't want to talk right away. Sometimes it takes time to feel comfortable." Dr. Morrison pulled out a box of art supplies. "How about we draw for a bit? Sometimes that makes things easier." 2 weeks had passed since the coffee shop meeting. In that time, Maya and Lily had exchanged texts, simple things mostly. Lily would send her pictures of dinosaurs she'd drawn, and Maya would respond with facts about burn treatment or stories from the hospital. It was tentative, careful, but it was connection. Ethan had found Dr. Morrison through his insurance network, vetted her credentials, read reviews, and finally worked up the courage to make the appointment. Now he sat in the waiting room, flipping through a magazine without seeing it, wondering if he'd made the right choice. His phone buzzed. "Maya, how's the first session going?" "Still happening. I'm in the waiting room trying not to have a panic attack. She's stronger than you think." "I know. That's what scares me. She shouldn't have to be this strong at 6. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, no. But she is. And you're getting her help. That's what matters." Inside the therapy room, Lily had started drawing. Dr. Morrison watched as the little girl's hand moved across the paper, creating a house with flames coming out of the windows. A stick figure stood outside, arms outstretched. "Tell me about your picture," Dr. Morrison said gently. "That's my daddy. He's trying to save my mommy, but he can't because the fire is too big." "Where are you in the picture?" Lily added another stick figure, this one smaller, away from the house. "I'm there. Daddy already got me out." "How does that make you feel?" "Bad. Because Mommy died getting me out and Daddy had to watch, and I didn't even know what was happening because I was too little." "That sounds like a very heavy feeling to carry." Lily's hand stilled on the paper. "Maya says the scars are proof I survived. but they feel like proof that Mommy died. Can they be both? The question stopped Lily cold. She looked up at Dr. Morrison with wide eyes. I don't understand. Sometimes things can be two different truths at the same time. Your scars are proof you survived, and they're also a reminder of what you lost. Both of those things can be true. Lily thought about this, then added more to her drawing: flowers around the house, a sun in the corner, birds in the sky. Small things that made the scene less dark, less final. My friend Maya has scars too, Lily said. Worse than mine. Her whole arm. How does that make you feel? Like maybe I'm not the only monster. Dr. Morrison leaned forward. Do you think Maya is a monster? No, she's nice and pretty and brave. But you think you're a monster? Lily's shoulders hunched. Kids at school say so. What do you say? The question hung in the air. Lily stared at her drawing, at the flames and the stick figures and the flowers she'd added to make it less terrible. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know what I am anymore. That evening, Ethan picked Lily up from the session to find her quieter than usual, but not upset. Dr. Morrison had recommended twice-weekly sessions for the first month, then they'd reassess. She'd also suggested family therapy, which made Ethan's stomach clench with anxiety. How was it, Bug? He asked as they drove home. Okay. We drew pictures. What kind of pictures? The fire, and you, and Mommy. Lily paused. Dr. Morrison says feelings can be complicated, that I can be sad and angry and scared all at the same time, and that's normal. She's right. Are your feelings complicated too? Ethan glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Yeah, Bug, they really are. Because of Mommy? Because of Mommy, and because I want to help you, but sometimes I don't know how, and because I'm scared I'm not enough, just me by myself. You're enough, Daddy. The simple statement nearly broke him. He blinked hard, focusing on the road. Thanks, Bug. His phone rang as they pulled into the driveway. Rachel. He sent it to voicemail, but she called right back. What's wrong? He answered. Why does something have to be wrong? Can't I just call my baby brother? You called twice in 10 seconds. Fine. How did therapy go? Ethan helped Lily out of the truck, unlocking the front door while balancing the phone against his shoulder. It went okay, I think. She's recommending twice a week. That's good. Intensive early intervention. Rachel paused. How are you doing with all this? I'm fine. Liar. I'm hanging up now. Wait, I wanted to ask about Maya. How's that going? Ethan glanced at Lily, who had disappeared into her room. He moved to the kitchen, lowering his voice. They've been texting. Maya came to one of Lily's sessions as a support person, which Dr. Morrison said was actually helpful. And you two? We're friends, that's all. Ethan, I'm serious, Rachel. She's helping Lily. I'm not going to complicate that by making it about something else. But do you want it to be about something else? He thought about Maya, the way she'd looked at Lily with such understanding, the raw honesty she brought to every conversation, the quiet strength she tried so hard to hide. What I want doesn't matter. Lily comes first. Lily would probably like to see her dad happy. Lily needs stability, not her dad dating the first woman who's shown interest in 3 years. It's not interest if it's mutual, Rachel pointed out, and from what I saw at that coffee shop, it's definitely mutual. You were spying? I was providentially nearby. There's a difference. Ethan couldn't help but smile. You're impossible. I'm invested in your happiness. Also impossible, but mostly invested. After Rachel hung up, Ethan made dinner, grilled cheese and tomato soup, Lily's favorite. They ate in comfortable silence, and he was just starting to relax when Lily spoke. Can Maya come over for dinner sometime? Ethan nearly dropped his spoon. What? Maya, can she come here for dinner? I don't know if that's a good idea, Bug. Why not? She's my friend. I know, but you have friends over. Aunt Rachel comes over all the time. Uncle Mike came last month. Why can't Maya? Because Maya wasn't just a friend, and Ethan was terrified of what it might mean to have her in his home, in the space he'd shared with Sarah, around the dinner table where they'd planned their future. Because every time he saw Maya, he felt something shift inside him, something he'd thought died 3 years ago, because he was scared. Okay, he heard himself say. If Maya wants to come, she can come. Lily's face lit up. Really? Really, but you have to ask her yourself. That night, after Lily was asleep, Ethan found himself staring at his phone. Maya had sent a picture earlier, a sunset from her hospital break room window, the sky streaked with orange and pink. He'd responded with a thumbs up, which felt inadequate. Now he typed out a message, deleted it, typed it again. Lily wants to know if you'd like to come to dinner. Friday night, if you're free. No pressure. He hit send before he could second-guess himself. The response came 15 minutes later, just as he was getting ready for bed. I'd like that. What time? 6:30? I'll be there. Should I bring anything? Just yourself. A pause, then, that's the part I'm worried about. Ethan smiled despite himself. You'll be fine. Lily adores you. And you? The question stopped him. He stared at those two words for a long time, trying to formulate a response that was honest without being too much, that acknowledged what was happening between them without pushing too hard. I think you're one of the bravest people I've ever met, he finally typed. And I'm glad you came into our lives. Even though I'm a mess, especially because you're a mess, makes me feel less alone in mine. The dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then, simply, see you Friday. The week crawled by with agonizing slowness. Ethan found himself cleaning the house with unprecedented thoroughness, agonizing over the menu, wondering if his couch looked too worn and whether he should replace the curtains Sarah had picked out 5 years ago. Lily caught him reorganizing the living room for the third time and gave him a knowing look that was far too old for her age. Maya's not going to care if the pillows are straight, Daddy. I know, I just want things to be nice. They're already nice. Friday arrived with rain, because of course it did. Ethan checked his phone obsessively, half expecting Maya to cancel. But at 6:15, his doorbell rang. She stood on his porch holding a bottle of wine and looking terrified. She'd worn a dress, dark blue, knee-length, with 3/4 sleeves that covered most of her scars. Her hair was down, falling in soft waves around her face. Hi, she said. Hi. Ethan stepped back, letting her in. You look nice. I changed 4 times. This felt the least trying too hard. Maya handed him the wine. I didn't know what you were making, so I went with a Pinot Noir that works with everything. Or so the guy at the store promised. Maya! Lily came running from her room, launching herself at Maya's legs. You came! Of course I came. I promised, didn't I? Lily grabbed Maya's hand, pulling her toward the living room. Come see my dinosaur collection. I got 3 new ones this week. Ethan watched them go, something warm and painful expanding in his chest. He'd been so focused on whether Maya would fit into their lives that he hadn't stopped to notice she already had. Dinner was simple: roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans. Maya complimented everything, helped Lily set the table, and somehow managed to steer the conversation away from scars and trauma toward lighter topics. She told stories about ridiculous things that happened at the hospital. The kid who'd swallowed a Lego Star Wars figure, the teenager who'd gotten his hand stuck in a Pringles can, the 5-year-old who'd diagnosed himself with dinosaur flu. Lily laughed, really laughed, in a way Ethan hadn't heard in months, and Maya laughed too, her defenses dropping, her whole face transforming. Can Maya see my room? Lily asked as they cleared the dishes. Ethan looked at Maya, who shrugged. If you want to show me. Lily's room was exactly what you'd expect from a dinosaur-obsessed 6-year-old. Plastic fossils on every surface, posters of prehistoric creatures on the walls, books about paleontology stacked haphazardly on her nightstand. But there was also evidence of her trauma. Blackout curtains that kept the room dark, a nightlight shaped like a moon, drawings pinned to a bulletin board that showed houses on fire. Maya studied those drawings carefully. Did you do these in therapy? Some of them. Dr. Morrison says it helps to draw what scares me. Does it? Sometimes. Sometimes it just makes me sad. Lily picked up a stuffed triceratops. This was my mom's, from when she was little. Daddy saved it from the fire. Maya touched the toy gently. It was singed on one side, the fabric blackened but intact. That was very brave of him. He went back in after the firefighters said it was safe. Found it in the corner of my room, under some boxes. Lily hugged the dinosaur close. Sometimes I pretend it still smells like her, even though I know it doesn't anymore. What did she smell like? Vanilla. And something else I can't remember. Lavender, Ethan said from the doorway. Both of them turned, not realizing he'd been listening. Your mom wore vanilla and lavender perfume, the same kind her mother wore. I wish I could remember more, Lily said softly. You remember the important things. How much she loved you. How she never gave up on getting you out of that house. Lily nodded, but her eyes were sad. Maya sat down on the edge of the bed, and Lily climbed up next to her. I don't remember much about my parents either, Maya said. Not as much as I'd like, but I found other ways to keep them close. The house I rebuilt, the career I chose, the way I try to live my life. They're in all of those things. How did you decide what kind of person to be? Lily asked. Without them to show you? The question was so profound, so heartbreaking, that Maya had to take a moment to compose herself. I thought about what they valued, kindness, helping people, being strong even when things were hard. And I tried to build my life around those things. Do you think you did a good job? Some days yes, some days no, but I'm still trying, and I think that's what matters. Lily leaned against her, a gesture of trust that made Maya's breath catch. Over the little girl's head, her eyes met Ethan's. He was watching them with an expression she couldn't quite read, something between gratitude and longing and fear. It's getting late, Bug, Ethan said gently. Time for pajamas. Can Maya help me pick them out? If she doesn't mind. Maya ended up reading Lily 3 books about dinosaurs, answering questions about whether pterodactyls could survive modern bird flu, and listening to a detailed explanation of the difference between the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. By the time Lily's eyes started drooping, it was nearly 9. Sweet dreams, Maya whispered, tucking the blanket around her. Maya? Lily's voice was sleepy. I'm glad you're my friend. Me too, kiddo. Me too. Downstairs, Ethan had opened the wine. He handed Maya a glass as she emerged from Lily's room, and they settled onto the couch with careful distance between them. She adores you, Ethan said. The feeling's mutual. Maya took a sip of wine. She's an incredible kid. Smart, thoughtful, braver than she realizes. She told Dr. Morrison this week that meeting you was the best thing that's happened to her since her mom died. Maya's hand trembled slightly. She said that? Word for word. Ethan turned to face her. Maya, I know this wasn't what you signed up for. A broken widower and his traumatized kid. If it's too much, it's not too much. You can be honest. I am being honest. Maya set down her wine glass. For the first time in 15 years, I feel like I'm actually living instead of just surviving. Lily gives me a reason to get up in the morning that isn't just spite or obligation. She reminds me why I became a nurse in the first place. And me? The question escaped before Ethan could stop it. Maya's eyes met his, steady despite the vulnerability in them. You make me want to try, to believe that maybe I'm not as broken as I think I am, that maybe someone could actually want me, scars and all. Maya, I'm terrified, she continued, of getting close to you, to Lily, and then having it all fall apart, of becoming someone she depends on and then disappointing her, of letting myself care and then losing everything again. I'm scared too, Ethan admitted. I haven't felt anything for anyone since Sarah died, didn't think I could. And then you showed up with your brutal honesty and your walls and your determination to protect yourself from everything. And He ran a hand through his hair. I don't know what I'm doing here. Neither do I. They sat in silence, the admission hanging between them. Outside, rain pattered against the windows, a soft soundtrack to their uncertainty. We don't have to figure it out tonight, Maya said finally. We can just see what happens. Take it slow. Lily's already attached to you. I'm already attached to her. And to you, if I'm being completely honest. Ethan reached for her hand, the scarred one she usually kept hidden. She let him take it, her fingers curling around his. They sat like that for a long time, not talking, just being present with each other and the possibility of what they might become. Maya's phone shattered the moment, buzzing urgently. She glanced at the screen and went pale. I have to go. It's the hospital. Emergency incoming, all hands on deck. Okay. Ethan stood with her, walking her to the door. Thanks for coming. It meant a lot. Thanks for having me. Maya hesitated, then stood on her toes and kissed his cheek. I'll text you tomorrow. She was halfway to her car when Ethan called after her. Maya? She turned, rain already dampening her hair. I'm glad you came into our lives too. Both of us. Her smile was worth the rain, worth the fear, worth all of it. Then she was gone, taillights disappearing into the wet Seattle night. Ethan closed the door and leaned against it, his hand going to his cheek where she'd kissed him. Upstairs, Lily's nightlight glowed soft through the crack under her door. His house, which had felt like a mausoleum for 3 years, suddenly felt like a home again. He was still standing there, lost in thought, when his phone buzzed. Made it to the hospital. Thanks for tonight. It was perfect. Even the part where Lily made you listen to her entire presentation on Pachycephalosaurus headbutting techniques, especially that part. Ethan smiled, typing back, Same time next week? The response came immediately. It's a date. He stared at those 3 words, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. A date. Not just dinner with a friend. A date. Upstairs, Lily called out, Daddy? He took the stairs 2 at a time. What's wrong, Bug? Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to say I really like Maya. I know you do. Do you like her too? Like her? Ethan sat on the edge of her bed. Where did that come from? I saw you holding her hand, and you looked at her the way you look at pictures of Mommy. Happy, sad. The observation cut deep. Yeah, Bug. I like her. Good, because I think she likes you too. What makes you say that? The way she smiles when you talk, and how she wore a fancy dress just for dinner, and how she keeps looking at you when she thinks you're not watching. You're very observant. I know. Lily snuggled deeper into her blankets. Is it okay if I love her, even though she's not Mommy? Ethan's throat closed up. Oh, Bug. Of course it's okay. Loving someone new doesn't mean you love Mommy less. Your heart's big enough for both. Promise? Promise. Lily was quiet for a moment, then, I think Mommy would like Maya. The words hit him like a physical blow. He thought about Sarah, about how she'd always wanted the best for their daughter, how she'd made him promise to keep living after she was gone, to not let grief destroy what was left of their family. Yeah, he said, his voice rough. I think she would too. That night, Ethan lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Maya and Lily and the impossible situation they'd all stumbled into. 3 people carrying scars, some visible, some not, trying to figure out how to build something new from the wreckage of their past. His phone lit up with one final message from Maya. Tell Lily I had fun tonight. And tell yourself that I meant what I said, all of it. He typed back, She knows, and I believe you. Sleep well, you too. But sleep didn't come easy. Instead, Ethan found himself in Lily's room, watching her sleep, her small hand clutching the burned triceratops, her scars visible in the soft glow of the nightlight. She looked peaceful, younger than her years, unburdened by the weight she carried during waking hours. We're going to be okay, he whispered. All 3 of us. He wanted desperately to believe it, and for the first time in 3 years, he actually did. The rain continued through the night, washing the city clean, and somewhere across town, Maya stood at her bedroom window, watching the same storm, thinking about a little girl with scars and her father with sad eyes, and wondering if maybe, just maybe, it was time to stop hiding. If you or someone you know is having a difficult time, free support is available. Find resources. 3 weeks later, Maya's phone rang at 2 in the morning. She jerked awake, her heart already racing with the kind of panic that came from years of emergency calls. But when she grabbed her phone, squinting at the screen, it wasn't the hospital. It was Ethan. Hello? Her voice came out rough with sleep. Maya, I'm sorry to call so late, but I need help. Ethan's voice was tight with controlled fear. It's Lily. She's burning up, and there's something wrong with her scars. They're red and swollen, and she's saying they hurt. Maya was already out of bed, pulling on clothes. How high is her fever? 103.5. I gave her Tylenol 20 minutes ago, but it hasn't come down. Is she coherent? Alert? Yeah, but she's scared. She keeps saying her neck is on fire. Listen to me carefully. The redness around her scars, is it spreading? Does it have defined edges, or is it diffuse? She heard Ethan moving, his breathing uneven. Defined edges, like a line moving outward from the scar tissue. Maya's stomach dropped. Cellulitis? Possibly worse. Infection in burn scars could escalate dangerously fast, especially in children. You need to take her to the ER right now. Don't wait. I was hoping you'd say I was overreacting. You're not. This could be serious, Ethan. I'll meet you there. You don't have to. I'm already dressed. Which hospital? Seattle Children's. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Maya made it in 15, parking illegally and running through the ER entrance. She found Ethan in the waiting room, Lily wrapped in a blanket in his arms, her face flushed with fever. The little girl's eyes were glassy, unfocused. How long? Maya asked, kneeling in front of them. We just got here. They're doing intake. Ethan's face was gray with worry. She threw up in the car, twice. Maya pressed the back of her hand to Lily's forehead. The heat radiating from her skin confirmed what she already knew. This was bad. She stood, marching to the triage desk with the kind of authority that came from 6 years of pediatric nursing. I need someone to look at this child now, she told the nurse behind the desk. 6-year-old female, fever of 103.5, signs of cellulitis around old burn scars, vomiting, possible sepsis. The nurse looked up, ready to recite the standard speech about wait times, but something in Maya's expression stopped her. Are you family? I'm a pediatric nurse at Mercy General, and I'm telling you this child needs immediate attention. Room 3. I'll get a doctor. Maya turned back to Ethan. Come on. They got Lily into the examination room just as she began to shake, her small body convulsing with chills despite the fever. Ethan looked helpless, terrified in a way Maya had never seen. What's happening to her? Her body's fighting an infection. The shaking is actually good. It means her immune system is working. Maya helped position Lily on the bed, her hand steady despite her own fear. But we need to get her temperature down and start antibiotics. A young resident appeared, looking harried. Maya gave him a rapid-fire summary of symptoms, medical history, and her preliminary assessment. To his credit, he listened without ego, immediately ordering blood work, IV fluids, and broad-spectrum antibiotics. I want cultures from the affected area, Maya added, and a CBC with differential. The resident nodded. You medical? Pediatric nurse. Thank God. Can you start the IV? Our pediatric specialist is tied up with a trauma. Maya had Lily's IV placed in under a minute, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. The little girl whimpered but didn't cry, her eyes finding Maya's face and holding on like an anchor. You're doing so good, sweetheart, Maya murmured. So brave. It hurts, Lily whispered. I know, baby. The medicine's going to help soon. Over the next hour, they watched and waited. Ethan held Lily's hand while Maya monitored vitals, adjusted the IV drip, and advocated with the medical staff when responses weren't fast enough. The blood work came back showing elevated white cell counts, confirmation of infection. The affected area around Lily's scars had spread another 2 inches, angry red lines tracking across her small neck. We need to admit her, the attending physician said when she finally appeared. Dr. Sarah Chen, and Maya recognized her immediately from conferences they'd both attended. IV antibiotics for at least 48 hours, possibly longer depending on how she responds. What's the worst-case scenario? Ethan asked, his voice barely steady. Dr. Chen didn't sugarcoat it. Worst case, the infection spreads to her bloodstream, and we're looking at septic shock. But we caught it early. The antibiotics should start working within 12 to 24 hours. And if they don't, then we adjust the treatment plan. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Dr. Chen turned to Maya. You're the one who pushed for immediate attention? Yes. Good instincts. Another few hours, and this could have been a very different conversation. She checked Lily's chart again. We'll get her moved to a room upstairs. I want hourly vitals and close monitoring of the infection site. As they wheeled Lily to her room, Ethan walked beside the gurney, never letting go of her hand. Maya followed, her professional mask firmly in place even as her heart raced. She'd seen pediatric infections before, had treated dozens of cases just like this. But this was different. This was Lily. The pediatric ward was quiet at 4 a.m, most of the young patients sleeping. They settled Lily into a private room, got her comfortable, and adjusted the IV antibiotics to run continuously. Ethan sank into the chair beside the bed, looking like he might shatter. Why don't you get some coffee? Maya suggested gently. I'll stay with her. I don't want to leave. You're no good to her if you collapse. 5 minutes, Ethan. The cafeteria's on the second floor. He went reluctantly, and Maya pulled her chair closer to Lily's bed. The little girl's eyes fluttered open. Maya, I'm right here, sweetheart. Am I going to die like Mommy? The question punched all the air from Maya's lungs. No, baby, no. You have an infection, and it's making you feel terrible, but the medicine is going to fix it. I promise. You can't promise that. You're not a doctor. You're right. I'm not. But I am a nurse who has seen a lot of kids with infections like yours, and they all got better. Every single one. Lily's hand found Maya's scarred one, her small fingers tracing the damaged tissue. Were you scared when you were in the hospital after your fire? Terrified. I thought I was going to die, and even when I didn't, I thought I'd never be okay again. But you are okay. Most days, yeah, I am. Even with the scars? Even with the scars. Maya squeezed her hand gently. Your dad's going to be back in a minute, but I want you to know something first. You are not going to die in this hospital. You're going to get better. Go home, and keep being the incredible kid you are. Okay? Okay. Lily's eyes were already closing again, the fever and exhaustion pulling her back under. Will you stay, please? I'm not going anywhere. When Ethan returned with 2 cups of terrible cafeteria coffee, he found Maya still holding Lily's hand, her own eyes red-rimmed with unshed tears. He handed her a cup and sat down heavily. Thank you, he said quietly, for coming, for knowing what to do, for being here. Where else would I be? Home. In bed. Living your own life instead of getting dragged into our crisis at 2 a.m. Maya took a sip of the awful coffee. 3 weeks ago, I would have agreed with you, would have kept my distance, protected myself from exactly this kind of situation. But that was before Lily asked if we could be friends, before you invited me to dinner, before I realized I didn't want to spend the rest of my life hiding from the possibility of caring about people. Maya, I'm not finished. She set down her cup, turning to face him fully. I spent 15 years building walls, convincing myself that being alone was safer than risking connection. And then I met your daughter, and she walked right through every single defense I'd built like they were made of paper. And you, her voice caught, you looked at my scars and didn't flinch, didn't pity me, just saw me. I see you now, Ethan said softly. And I see someone who's terrified but showed up anyway. Someone who loves my daughter enough to fight for her at 4 a.m. Someone I'm falling for whether I'm ready or not. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Maya's breath caught. I'm not ready either, she admitted. I don't know how to do this, how to be someone people depend on, how to love without waiting for everything to fall apart. Neither do I. But maybe we can figure it out together. They sat in silence, holding hands across the gap between their chairs while Lily slept fitfully in the hospital bed. Outside the window, Seattle's pre-dawn darkness was beginning to soften, the first hints of gray light appearing on the horizon. Lily's fever broke around 6 a.m. Maya felt it before the monitors registered it, the change in breathing, the relaxation of muscles that had been tense with illness. She checked the thermometer reading and felt relief flood through her. 101.2, she told Ethan. It's coming down. He sagged with relief, pressing his forehead against Lily's hand. Thank God, Dr. Royer. Chen appeared during morning rounds, checking Lily's vitals and examining the infection site. The redness had stopped spreading, the edges less defined, the tissue responding to the antibiotics. "Good news," Dr. Chen announced. "She's responding well to treatment. We'll keep her on IV antibiotics for another 24 hours, then reassess. If she continues improving, we might be able to send her home tomorrow with oral antibiotics." "That's it?" Ethan asked. "She's going to be okay?" "She's going to be fine. You got her here fast, and your friend's quick assessment helped us start treatment immediately. That made all the difference." After Dr. Chen left, Lily woke up properly for the first time since arriving. Her eyes were clearer, her color better. "Daddy, Maya?" "We're both here, Bug." Ethan brushed hair from her forehead. "How do you feel?" "Tired, and my neck still hurts. The medicine is working, but it takes time. You're going to stay in the hospital for another day or so, just to make sure you're all better." Lily's face crumpled. "I don't want to stay here." "I know, sweetheart, but it's important. Will you stay with me?" "Both of us will," Maya said before Ethan could answer. She met his eyes over Lily's head. "I'll call Mercy. Let them know I need a few days. They owe me about a year's worth of unused vacation time anyway." "You don't have to do that." "Yes, I do." Maya's voice was firm. "She asked, and I'm staying." The next 36 hours blurred together in a haze of hospital routine. Maya and Ethan took shifts, one sleeping in the uncomfortable recliner while the other kept watch. They ate terrible cafeteria food, played endless rounds of Go Fish with Lily, read dinosaur books until they'd memorized them, and slowly, carefully, built something that looked almost like a family. Rachel appeared on the second day with fresh clothes and homemade soup. "You look like death," she told her brother cheerfully. "Both of you." "Thanks," Ethan said dryly. "Aunt Rachel." Lily's face lit up despite her exhaustion. "Did you bring the soup?" "Chicken noodle, extra noodles, just like you like." Rachel set up a mini feast on the rolling table. "And I brought coloring books because I figured you were probably bored out of your mind." While Lily ate and colored, Rachel pulled Maya aside in the hallway. "Thank you for being here," she said, "for both of them." "I want to be here. I know, I can see it." Rachel studied her carefully. "But I need to ask, what are your intentions with my brother?" Maya blinked. "Are you seriously giving me the protective sister speech in a hospital hallway?" "Damn right I am. Ethan's been through hell. Lily's been through worse. I love that you're helping them, but if you're going to bolt when things get hard, I'm not going to bolt." "How do I know that?" "Because I've spent 2 days in a hospital chair eating vending machine food and watching a 6-year-old fight an infection, and the only place I want to be is right here. Because when Ethan called at 2 in the morning, I didn't hesitate. Because Lily asked me to stay and I couldn't imagine saying no." Maya's voice shook slightly. "I'm terrified of this, of caring this much, but I'm more terrified of walking away." Rachel's expression softened. "Okay, good. Because Lily's already planning your wedding, and I'd hate to disappoint her." "She's what?" "She told me yesterday that when she grows up, she wants Maya to be her mom for real. Her words, not mine." Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. "She said that?" "She did. So whatever you and Ethan are doing, keep doing it. Because that little girl in there has been broken for a long time, and you're helping her heal." Back in the room, they found Ethan asleep in the chair, his hand still holding Lily's. The little girl was awake, watching her father with an expression that was far too knowing for her age. "He doesn't sleep much," she told Maya quietly. "I hear him at night sometimes, walking around the house. I think he's sad and doesn't want me to know." Maya sat on the edge of the bed. "Your dad loves you very much. And when you love someone, their pain becomes your pain. Like how you're sad when I'm sick? Exactly like that." "Maya?" Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "If I asked you to be my mom, would you say yes?" The question hit Maya like a physical blow. She looked at this small, scarred, impossibly brave child and felt something crack open inside her chest, all the walls she'd built, all the defenses she'd maintained crumbling in the face of such simple, devastating honesty. "Lily, that's a really big question." "I know, but you're already kind of like my mom. You come to my therapy, you have dinner with us. You stayed at the hospital even though you didn't have to. And Daddy looks at you the way he used to look at Mommy in the pictures." Your dad and I are still figuring things out. But if you did figure it out, if he asked you to stay forever? Maya thought about her empty house, her solitary life, the 15 years she'd spent convinced she was better off alone. Then she thought about Lily's laugh, Ethan's gentle strength, the way she'd felt more alive in the past month than she had in over a decade. Then I'd say yes, Maya said softly. If your dad asked, and if you wanted me to, I'd say yes. Lily's smile was radiant. Good, because I already told Aunt Rachel you were going to marry Daddy. You did what? It was obvious. You hold hands when you think I'm not looking, and you do that thing where you smile at each other for no reason. That's what people do when they're in love. Maya couldn't help but laugh. You're 6. How do you know about people in love? I watch a lot of movies with Daddy, and I'm very observant. Clearly. They sat together in comfortable silence until Lily's eyes began to droop again. Maya was about to stand when the little girl grabbed her hand. I'm glad you're here, Lily murmured, already half asleep. I was really scared, but having you here made it less scary. I'm glad I'm here too, sweetheart. Maya stayed until Lily was fully asleep, then carefully extracted her hand and moved to the window. Outside, Seattle was going about its business. People walking dogs, cars stuck in traffic, life continuing as normal. But in this hospital room, something fundamental had shifted. She felt Ethan come up beside her. How long have you been awake? She asked. Long enough to hear the most terrifying marriage proposal in history. Maya's cheeks flushed. She's 6. She doesn't understand. She understands more than you think. Ethan turned to face her. Maya, I know this is fast. I know we've only known each other for a month. But watching you with Lily these past few days, seeing how much you care, how you dropped everything to be here. Don't, Maya interrupted. Don't say something you might regret when you've had more sleep. I'm not going to regret telling you that I'm falling in love with you. The words hung between them, impossible to take back. Maya stared at him, her heart racing. Ethan, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know, needed to be honest about what this is becoming for me. He gestured to the sleeping child. For both of us. Maya looked at Lily, at this small person who had somehow become essential to her in such a short time. Then she looked at Ethan, at the grief he carried, the love he'd rebuilt from ashes, the courage it took to risk his heart again. I'm terrified, she admitted, of letting you in, of becoming someone Lily depends on and then failing her, of building a life with you and having it all fall apart. So am I. But I'm also tired of being afraid, tired of hiding, tired of pretending I don't want this. She took his hand, the scarred one and the unscarred one together. I'm falling for you too, for both of you, and it scares me more than anything I've ever felt. Ethan pulled her into his arms, and Maya let herself be held. They stood like that for a long time, 2 broken people learning to be whole, while outside the window the world kept turning, and inside the room a little girl slept peacefully, healing in more ways than one. The next morning, Dr. Chen discharged Lily with a prescription for oral antibiotics and strict instructions about wound care. The infection was responding well. The danger passed. Ethan carried Lily to the car while Maya handled the discharge paperwork, and when they arrived at Ethan's house, Lily refused to let go of either of them. Stay, she told Maya. Please? Just for a little while? Maya looked at Ethan, who nodded. Stay as long as you want. So Maya stayed. She helped Lily get settled in bed, administered the antibiotics, made soup from Rachel's recipe. She moved through Ethan's house like she belonged there, and somewhere in the middle of folding laundry and reading dinosaur books, she realized she did. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Ethan found Maya in the kitchen washing dishes. You don't have to do that. I want to. It helps me think. About what? Maya dried her hands, turning to face him. About how a month ago I was alone in my rebuilt house, convinced I was better off that way. And now I'm here, in your kitchen, and I can't imagine wanting to be anywhere else. Ethan crossed the distance between them. Then don't go. Stay here tonight. Stay tomorrow. Stay as long as you want. Ethan, I'm not asking for forever. Not yet. I'm just asking for now, for today, for whatever you're ready to give. Maya thought about her empty house, about the years she'd spent building walls and pushing people away. Then she thought about Lily asking if she'd be her mom, about Ethan saying he was falling in love, about the terrifying, wonderful possibility of letting herself belong somewhere. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll stay." Maya woke in Ethan's guest room to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains and the sound of voices downstairs. For a moment, disorientation gripped her. This wasn't her house, wasn't her carefully controlled space. Then memory flooded back. Lily's infection, the hospital, Ethan asking her to stay. She'd said yes. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, she felt something close to peace. Downstairs, she found Ethan making pancakes while Lily sat at the kitchen table coloring, her medication schedule laid out beside her juice cup. The domestic scene was so ordinary, so achingly normal, that Maya paused in the doorway just to take it in. "You're awake," Ethan said, spotting her. "Coffee's fresh." "Maya!" Lily abandoned her coloring to launch herself at Maya's legs. "Daddy's making dinosaur pancakes. Do you want one?" Dinosaur pancakes sound perfect. They ate breakfast together, Lily chattering about her upcoming therapy session and a science project on volcanoes, while Ethan and Maya exchanged glances over her head, small, private smiles that felt like shared secrets. After breakfast, Maya helped clean up, moving through Ethan's kitchen like she'd been doing it for years instead of hours. "I should probably go home," Maya said as she dried the last plate. "Get some real clothes, check on things." "Or," Lily interjected, "you could just move in. Then you wouldn't have to go home at all." Ethan choked on his coffee. Maya felt her face flush. "Bug, that's not how that works," Ethan managed. "Why not? Maya stayed last night. She could stay tonight too, and tomorrow, and forever." "Lily, what? You said you're falling in love with her. I heard you at the hospital." Maya bit back a laugh at the expression on Ethan's face, part mortification, part resignation. He looked at her helplessly. "She's not wrong about what I said," he admitted. "No, she's not." Maya knelt down to Lily's level. "But moving in is a really big step. It means a lot of things have to happen first. Your dad and I need to spend more time together, make sure we're right for each other. We need to talk about what it would mean for all of us, and you need time to be sure this is what you really want." "I'm sure," Lily said firmly. "I've been sure since the coffee shop." "Sweetheart, that was only a month ago. I know what I want, and I want you to be part of our family." The simple declaration nearly undid Maya. She glanced at Ethan, who looked equally overwhelmed. "How about this?" Maya said carefully. "I'll go home today, but I'll come back for dinner, and we'll keep doing that, spending time together, getting to know each other better. And if everyone still feels the same way in a few months, we'll talk about bigger steps. Deal?" Lily considered this, her small face serious. "Okay, but you have to promise you'll come back." "I promise." Maya did go home that afternoon, driving through Seattle's familiar streets to the house she'd rebuilt from ashes. But walking through her front door felt different now. The space she'd meticulously restored, every room a tribute to her parents, every detail a monument to survival, suddenly felt less like a home and more like a museum. Beautiful, but empty. Perfect, but unlived in. She stood in her living room looking at the photos of her parents she'd hung on every wall and felt the weight of 15 years pressing down on her. Her phone rang. Dr. Chen, her therapist. "You missed our Tuesday appointment," Dr. Chen said without preamble. "I got your message about a family emergency. Want to talk about it?" Maya found herself pouring out the whole story. Lily's infection, staying at the hospital, Ethan's confession, the terrifying realization that she'd fallen in love with a man and his daughter in the space of a month. "And now I'm standing in my house feeling like it belongs to someone else," Maya finished. "Like I've been living in a shrine instead of a home." "What would it mean to leave the shrine behind?" Dr. Chen asked gently. "I don't know. For 15 years, this house has been everything. My connection to my parents, my proof that I survived, my entire identity. And now? Now I think maybe I've been confusing survival with living. I survived the fire. I survived the surgeries and the pain and the grief, but I haven't been living. Not really. I've just been existing, going through the motions. What changed?" Maya thought about Lily's small hand in hers, about Ethan's steady presence, about feeling needed and wanted and essential to someone else's happiness. I met people who made me want more than just survival. So, what are you going to do about it? The question hung in the air. Maya looked around her perfect, empty house and made a decision. I'm going to start living. Over the next 3 months, Maya kept her promise to Lily. She came for dinner 3 times a week, attended Lily's therapy sessions as a support person, and slowly, carefully integrated herself into their lives. She learned that Ethan took his coffee black with 2 sugars, that Lily refused to eat anything green unless it was disguised in a smoothie, that Thursday nights were for Chinese takeout and dinosaur documentaries. She also learned about the small ways grief still lived in their house. The photos of Sarah that Ethan couldn't bear to take down but couldn't look at directly. The way Lily sometimes called for her mama in her sleep. The anniversary of Sarah's death approaching like a storm on the horizon. It'll be 3 years next month, Ethan told Maya one evening after Lily was asleep. They sat on his back porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. I don't know how to handle it. Lily doesn't really remember the first 2 anniversaries. She was too young. But this year, she's old enough to understand what the day means. What did you do the other years? Took her to Sarah's grave, planted flowers, tried not to fall apart in front of her. He rubbed his face tiredly. I failed at that last part. Maya took his hand. What if this year was different? What if instead of focusing on the loss, you celebrated Sarah's life, told Lily stories about her mom, looked at photos together, talked about all the ways Sarah is still present in your lives? You'd be okay with that? With us spending the day talking about my dead wife? Ethan, Sarah is part of your story, part of Lily's story. I'm not trying to erase her or replace her. I'm just trying to be part of what comes next. He pulled her close, pressing his forehead to hers. I don't know what I did to deserve you. You showed up. You were honest. You let me in. Maya kissed him softly. That's all it took. Their relationship deepened slowly, carefully. First kisses that tasted like coffee and promise. Hands held across dinner tables and during Lily's therapy sessions. Conversations that stretched into the early morning hours about dreams and fears and the terrifying possibility of building a future together. Maya also began making changes in her own life. She started a support group at Mercy General for burn survivors, using her own story to help others navigate their recovery. She accepted an invitation to speak at a medical conference about long-term psychological impact of burn injuries. And one Saturday, she invited Ethan and Lily to her house. I want you to see where I come from, she told them as they pulled into her driveway, before I can think about where I'm going. Lily gasped when she saw the house. It's beautiful. It was. Maya had rebuilt it with painstaking attention to detail, cedar siding, large windows, a garden that bloomed year-round. From the outside, there was no evidence of the fire that had consumed the original structure. Inside was different. Every room held photos of her parents, their belongings carefully preserved and displayed. It was a home frozen in time, a tribute to people who'd been gone for 15 years. This was their room, Maya said, showing them the master bedroom she'd never used. I rebuilt it exactly as I remembered it. Same furniture, same paint color, same everything. Ethan studied the room carefully. Where do you sleep? The guest room. I couldn't bring myself to use their space. Lily wandered through the house with quiet reverence, touching things gently. When she reached the wall of family photos, she stopped. You look like your mom, she said. Before the fire, I mean. In this picture. Maya looked at the photo Lily had pointed to. Maya at 15, her mother's arm around her shoulders, both of them laughing at something off camera. It had been taken 2 years before the fire, back when Maya's biggest worry was geometry homework and whether Jason Miller would ask her to homecoming. I do, don't I? Maya said softly. I'd forgotten that. Do you think she'd be proud of you? Lily asked, for becoming a nurse and helping people? I hope so. I've tried to live the kind of life they would have wanted for me. Even the lonely parts? The question cut deep. Maya knelt down to Lily's level. What do you mean? This house is beautiful, but it's really quiet, and there's no toys or books or anything that shows you live here. It's like a museum. Lily's expression was earnest. I don't think your parents would want you to live in a museum. Out of the mouths of babes. Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. You're right, they wouldn't. That evening, after they'd left, Maya walked through her house with new eyes. Lily was right. It was a museum, a shrine, a monument to the past. And while honoring her parents was important, she'd done it at the expense of her own future. She called Ethan. I think I'm ready, she said when he answered. Ready for what? To stop living in the past, to take down some of these photos, pack away some of these memories, to turn this house into a home instead of a memorial. Maya, I'm not erasing them. I'm just making room for new memories, for new people, for you and Lily, if you'll have me. She heard his breath catch. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying I want to be part of your lives, really part of them. Not just dinners and therapy sessions, but everything, the hard days and the good ones, the anniversaries and the celebrations, all of it. Move in with us. It wasn't a question, but Maya answered anyway. Yes, if Lily's still okay with it. She's been packing your imaginary boxes for weeks. I'll tell her tomorrow. The anniversary of Sarah's death arrived on a gray October morning. Maya woke early in Ethan's house. She'd been staying there most nights for the past month, slowly moving her belongings while keeping her rebuilt house as a safety net, and found Ethan already awake, staring out the kitchen window. Hey, she said softly. He turned, and she saw the grief written plainly on his face. 3 years. It doesn't feel any easier. It's not supposed to. You loved her. That doesn't just go away. They spent the morning preparing for what Ethan had decided to call a celebration of life. Rachel came over with photo albums. Together, they sorted through pictures of Sarah. Sarah laughing, Sarah pregnant with Lily, Sarah in her wedding dress, Sarah just being herself. When Lily woke up, Ethan sat her down gently. Bug, do you know what today is? Lily nodded, her expression solemn. The day Mommy went to heaven. That's right, and I thought maybe today, instead of just being sad, we could remember all the good things about her. Tell stories, look at pictures, talk about how much she loved you. Will Maya be here? If you want her to be. Lily looked at Maya, who sat quietly on the couch. Do you mind? Talking about my mom? Not at all, sweetheart. I'd like to hear about her. They spent the day sharing memories. Rachel told stories about Sarah's terrible cooking and her infectious laugh. Ethan talked about the day they met, about how Sarah had literally walked into him at a coffee shop and spilled her latte all over his shirt. Lily listened, absorbing stories about a mother she barely remembered but desperately wanted to know. Tell me about the day I was born, Lily asked. Ethan's eyes grew distant. Your mom was in labor for 18 hours. She was exhausted and in pain, but the moment they put you in her arms, she lit up like the sun. She looked at you and said, Hello, little bug. I'm your mama, and I'm going to love you forever. Did she love me forever? She died loving you. That's pretty much the definition of forever. Lily processed this, her small face thoughtful. Then she turned to Maya. Did your parents love you forever too? They did. They still do in a way. Love doesn't stop just because someone's gone. So Mommy still loves me, even though she's not here? Absolutely, and she'd be so proud of how brave you are, how smart, how kind. Lily seemed to find comfort in this. As the afternoon wore on, the grief in the house transformed into something softer, sweeter. They weren't forgetting Sarah or minimizing the loss. They were making space for her memory to exist alongside their present. That evening, as the sun set, Ethan, Maya, and Lily stood in the backyard where Ethan had planted a cherry tree in Sarah's memory. Lily held a small watering can, carefully tending the tree while Ethan and Maya watched. Thank you, Ethan said quietly to Maya, for being here, for making this day about love instead of just loss. I didn't do anything special. You're here. That's everything. Later, after Lily was asleep, Ethan found Maya sitting on the back porch. I have something for you, he said, sitting beside her. He pulled out a small velvet box. Maya's heart stopped. Ethan, it's not what you think. Open it. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with 3 charms, a tiny dinosaur, a flame, and a heart. The dinosaur is for Lily, Ethan explained. The flame represents what we've both survived, and the heart is for what we're building together. He fastened it around her wrist. I know we're taking things slow. I know we're both still figuring this out. But I wanted you to have something that shows you're part of this family, part of our story. Maya looked at the bracelet through tears. I love it. I love you. I love you too. Both of us do. They sat together in the darkness, listening to the night sounds of the city, both of them thinking about the journey that had brought them here, from loss to survival to something that might actually be called happiness. The next few months passed in a blur of ordinary moments that felt extraordinary precisely because they were shared. Maya officially moved in, bringing her parents' photos to hang alongside the pictures of Sarah, creating a gallery of the people who'd shaped their lives. Lily's therapy sessions became less frequent as she grew more confident, more willing to show her scars without shame. One afternoon, Maya came home from the hospital to find Lily standing in front of the bathroom mirror, her hair pulled back, studying her reflection. What you doing, kiddo? Looking at my scars, really looking instead of just hiding. Maya joined her at the mirror. What do you see? Me, and also the fire, and also proof that I'm brave. Lily tilted her head. Doctor, Morrison says scars tell stories. What story do mine tell? They tell a story about a little girl who survived something terrible, about a mother who loved her so much she gave her life to save her, about strength and resilience and the fact that you're still here, still fighting, still becoming the amazing person you were always meant to be. What about your scars? What story do they tell? Maya looked at her reflection, at the twisted tissue she'd spent 15 years hiding. They tell a story about loss and survival, about rebuilding from ashes, about learning that scars don't define you. They just prove you're stronger than whatever tried to break you. Lily reached for Maya's hand, scarred fingers intertwining with scarred fingers. We match. Yeah, we do. Maya, can I ask you something? Always. Would you be my mom, like, officially? Maya's breath caught. Lily, that's a really big question. Have you talked to your dad about this? I don't need to. He already wants to marry you. I heard him telling Aunt Rachel last week. Lily's expression was earnest. I know you're not my real mom. I know Sarah was my real mom and she died saving me. But you're here now and you love me and you stayed even when things got scary. That makes you real too, doesn't it? Maya knelt down, taking both of Lily's hands. It does. And I would be honored to be your mom if that's what you want and if your dad agrees. But we need to talk about it as a family, okay? All three of us together. That evening, they had the conversation. Ethan and Maya sat on the couch while Lily stood in front of them, suddenly nervous. I want Maya to be my mom, she announced. Not instead of Sarah. Sarah's always going to be my mom too, but Maya's here, and she loves us, and I want her to stay forever. Ethan looked at Maya, a question in his eyes. She nodded, her throat too tight for words. Then I think we need to make that official, Ethan said. He pulled out another velvet box. This one larger than the bracelet box. When he opened it, Maya saw a simple diamond ring. I was going to do this at a fancy restaurant or something romantic, Ethan said, but I think this is perfect. Here, in our home, with our daughter asking you to be part of this family. He took Maya's hand. Maya Bennett, you walked into my life a blind date I didn't want to go on, and you changed everything. You showed Lily that scars don't have to be shameful. You showed me that it's possible to love again without forgetting what I lost. You showed both of us that families can be built from broken pieces and still be whole. Will you marry me? Maya looked at Ethan, at Lily bouncing with barely contained excitement, at the life they'd built from their shared trauma and separate griefs. She thought about the girl she'd been at 17, trapped in a burning house, and certain her life was over. She thought about this woman she'd become, isolated, careful, convinced she was better off alone. And then she thought about the woman she was now, someone who'd learned that scars could be bridges instead of walls, that survival could lead to actual living, that love was worth the terrifying risk of loss. Yes, she said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I'll marry you. Lily shrieked with joy. launching herself at both of them. They tumbled together in a tangle of limbs and laughter and happy tears, three broken people who'd somehow found a way to be whole. 6 months later, they stood in a small ceremony at the rebuilt house where Maya had grown up. She'd sold it after the engagement, finally ready to let go of the museum she'd built and move fully into her future. But she'd wanted to be married there one last time, in the place where her parents had loved her, where she'd survived her worst night, where she'd learned that endings could also be beginnings. Rachel stood as maid of honor. Mike, Ethan's best friend from his construction crew, served as best man. And Lily, wearing a purple dress she'd picked out herself and with her hair pulled back to show her scars without shame, stood between them, holding their rings. The ceremony was simple, honest. When they exchanged vows, Maya spoke directly to both Ethan and Lily. "I spent 15 years believing I was too damaged for this," she said. "Too scarred, too broken, too afraid. And then I met you, and you showed me that scars are just proof of survival. That broken pieces can be put back together into something even more beautiful. That love doesn't require perfection, it just requires showing up, being honest, and choosing each other every single day. I choose you, Ethan. I choose you, Lily. I choose this family, today and forever." Ethan's vows were equally honest. "You gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever. Hope. Hope that I could be happy again. That Lily could heal, that our family could grow instead of just surviving. You didn't replace what we lost. You added to it, made it bigger, showed us that our hearts were large enough for all of it, the grief and the joy, the past and the future, the scars and the healing. I love you, Maya. We both do." When they kissed, Lily cheered so loudly that everyone laughed. And as they walked back down the aisle together, husband, wife, and daughter, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced in 15 years. Complete. The reception was small, held in the backyard of Ethan's house. Their house now. They ate cake and danced and celebrated with the people who'd supported them through the darkest times. And when the sun began to set, casting everything in golden light, Maya found Lily sitting alone on the back porch steps. "Hey, kiddo, what you doing out here?" "Just thinking." Lily scooted over, making room for Maya to sit. "I was thinking about how scars used to make me sad. How I wanted to hide them, or cut them off, or pretend they weren't there. And now? Now I think they're kind of cool, like battle scars, like proof that bad things happened but I survived them." She looked up at Maya. "You taught me that scars are just part of my story, not the whole story." "You taught me the same thing," Maya said. "I spent 15 years hiding my scars, hiding from the world, hiding from the possibility that someone might actually want me. And then you asked me to be your friend, and suddenly hiding seemed ridiculous. Because we matched. Because we matched." Maya pulled Lily close. "You know what's amazing? A year ago, I was alone in my rebuilt house, convinced I'd always be alone. And now I have a husband and a daughter and a family, all because I was brave enough to show my scars to a stranger in a coffee shop. And because Daddy was brave enough to stay. That too." They sat together as the sun set, watching the wedding guests mill around the yard. Ethan spotted them and came over, settling on Maya's other side. "What are my two favorite people doing out here?" "Talking about scars," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Heavy topic for a wedding." "Not really," Maya said. "Scars brought us together. Seems appropriate to talk about them today." Ethan wrapped an arm around each of them. "Fair point." For a moment, they just sat there, a family built from loss and trauma and the courage to try again. Three people with visible and invisible scars, proof of everything they'd survived and everything they'd become. "I have an idea," Lily announced suddenly. "We should start a group for kids with scars, where they can meet other kids who understand what it's like." Maya and Ethan exchanged glances. "That's actually brilliant," Maya said. "Like a support group, but for children, with activities and stuff. And maybe their parents could come too so they could learn how to help." "You'd want to be part of it? Share your story?" Lily thought about it, then nodded. "If it helps other kids feel less alone, then yeah. I want to help." 6 months after the wedding, they held the first meeting of what they'd named the Phoenix Project, because phoenixes rise from ashes, and that felt appropriate. 12 children showed up with their families, ranging in age from 4 to 14, all carrying burn scars and the emotional weight that came with them. Maya co-led the group with another burn survivor she'd met through her hospital work. Ethan helped coordinate activities. And Lily, 7 years old now and in second grade, became the unofficial ambassador, greeting new kids with her hair pulled back and her scars visible, living proof that you could survive and thrive. The group met twice a month. They did art therapy, played games, shared stories. Parents connected with other parents who understood the unique challenges of raising children with visible trauma. And slowly, carefully, they built a community of people who refused to let scars define them. One evening, after a particularly emotional session, Maya found Lily helping clean up. "You were really great tonight," Maya said. "The way you talked to that little boy about his facial scars, you made him feel so much better." I just told him the truth, that scars are proof of strength, not weakness. That's what you taught me. Maya felt her eyes fill with tears. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just noticed finally." Lily grinned, then grew serious. "Mom, can I ask you something?" It still made Maya's heart skip when Lily called her mom. "Of course. Do you think the fire happened for a reason? Like, to bring us all together?" Maya chose her words carefully. "I don't think tragedies happen for reasons. I think terrible things happen randomly, unfairly, and we don't get to choose them. But I do think we get to choose what we do afterward, how we heal, who we become, whether we let the scars define us or just be part of our story." "So we chose to find each other?" "In a way, yeah. Your dad chose to go on a blind date even though he was terrified. I chose to be honest about my scars instead of hiding them. You chose to be brave enough to ask me to be your friend. All those choices led us here. I'm glad we made those choices." "Me too, kiddo. Me too." That night, after Lily was asleep, Maya and Ethan sat on their back porch. The same porch where they'd had so many important conversations, where they'd fallen in love, where they'd built their life together. "I was thinking," Ethan said, "about what Lily asked, about whether things happen for a reason. And I don't think the fires happen for a reason. Sarah dying, your parents dying, Lily, and you getting burned. None of that was part of some grand plan. It was just tragedy. Random, unfair tragedy." "But," Maya prompted, hearing the unspoken word, "but what we did with that tragedy, that was a choice. And I choose to believe that Sarah would be happy, that she'd look at Lily now, confident and strong and surrounded by love, and she'd be proud. That she'd see you in our lives and know you're not replacing her. You're adding to the legacy of love she left behind." Maya leaned into him. "I hope so. I know so." He kissed the top of her head. "Sarah loved big. She would have wanted Lily to be loved just as big, and she is." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars emerge one by one. Inside the house, Lily slept peacefully, her nightmares less frequent now, her therapy sessions down to once a month. The Phoenix Project was growing, helping more families every week. And Maya had just been promoted to head of pediatric nursing at Mercy General. Their lives weren't perfect. They still had hard days. Lily still sometimes struggled with her scars, with the memories of a mother she barely knew. Ethan still grieved Sarah on quiet mornings when the house was still. Maya still battled moments of fear that everything she'd built might crumble. But they had each other. They had honesty and love and the courage to keep choosing each other even when things got difficult. "Thank you," Maya said quietly. "For what?" "For staying. That first night in the coffee shop when I showed you my scars and expected you to run, you stayed, and that changed everything. I'm glad I did. So am I." They stayed on the porch long into the night, two people who'd learned that scars weren't endings but beginnings, that survival could transform into actual living, that the deepest wounds sometimes created space for the most profound healing. And inside the house, Lily dreamed of dinosaurs and starfish and phoenixes rising from ashes, secure in the knowledge that she was loved by the mother who'd died for her, by the father who'd never stopped fighting for her, and by the woman who'd shown her that scars could be beautiful. Three broken people made whole by choosing love over fear, connection over isolation, and hope over despair. Their scars would always be visible, always be part of their stories, but they were no longer defined by damage. They were defined by survival, by resilience, by the extraordinary courage it took to keep showing up and choosing life even when life had been unbearably cruel. The scars remained, but so did they. And in the end, that was everything.